Hello, this is Lisa Lee and welcome to this week's pick a card reading. We are looking at what their higher self has to say to you. And I pre-shuffled these out and I got a glance while I was sticking them under the piles. As that wind comes through, I don't even know if you can hear it behind me, but we're in for it a little bit here with what energies we're working at. So I think that this is not small potatoes, what you need to hear from their higher self. I think this is big potatoes, what you need to hear from their higher self. There's some element of either catharsis relating to forgiveness, holding it with an open hand, or how do you move through into a new place with this? How do we break through with a different perspective or a different understanding? So here's our three piles. We've got pile number one with the blue bear with the rainy tummy. We have the ladybug, and we have the baby bunny. So take your time, take a couple deep breaths, get clear with your guides, and timestamps for the piles will be below. Let's get started. Hello, pile number one. Those of you that chose this sad Care Bear, or grumpy belly Care Bear. This pile, you know, the higher self that you need to speak to right now, whether you realize it or not, whether you set the intention for, you know, some individual that you feel a certain kind of a way about, or the higher self that you need to hear from with this card, probably needs to be a major forgiveness here at a very big level with this God card underneath. God is going to be, you know, where this person falls in the way of their higher self being to speak to you is there's some kind of like fracture. And whether it was a, I'm seeing a camel straw on the camel's back, the straw on the camel's back that broke the camel's back. The camel's back was holding enough, and then there's a straw that breaks the back. So there's something about this person coming forth and saying like, something about this interaction, this situation, they were the straw on the camel's back that broke your sense of a good and loving God in one way or another. So that's heavy, you know, and that might not be all of you. And if it doesn't resonate, don't make it fit. But for those of you that it does fit, this is kind of this is a higher self that is coming in to say, not only is this a call to understand our dynamic a little bit better and where I'm coming from in terms of wanting to help you through this, but also understanding that like the forgiveness here has to happen at like almost a cosmic level underneath that straw. And so there's a force of God coming from like within this reading a little bit also. And I wouldn't say a little bit, I mean, there is a force of God coming within this reading to say there's a forgiveness that is much bigger that wants to be brought through in the process of uncovering what it is that this person wants to say to you. So it's a tall order, and I know that sounds kind of like a lot, but we get good work done here. So let's go ahead and see what all that means. Let's get into it. Let's see what this person wants to say to you, what this higher self of the person that you're thinking of wants to say to you. Because there's something about benevolence and compassion and the eternal force within yourself and others that you've been disappointed. Like there's a major disappointment here because someone was willing to be cruel. Someone was willing to use the power that they had to control people. Let's see. And sometimes that will break your sense of a just and kind God when you've been on the receiving end of some sort of cruelty in one way or another. When you've been in a position of being powerless or having less power and someone is taking the opportunity to hurt you with that. With the Three of Wands, this person also kept you waiting or withholding. There's a withholding nature with this Three of Swords here. Let's keep this moving. I'm getting a lot of information really, really fast, and it's heavy actually. Okay. Bottom of the deck, we have a Four of Pentacles, and this energy is saying, you know, here's an interesting thing about what's coming through from this energy who wants to make a kind of amends with you here. And amends is making amends. Amends is important. It means something. So this energy is coming forth and saying that like it was like in one way or another, this energy was some representative of God, a representative of like whether this energy was either father position, because that's very possible in terms of the way that this energy had something that they were meant to deliver, that they were meant to offer, that they were meant to give you in one way or another, in the way of representation. And this representation could have come one of two ways. Either one, it's quite literally sort of something parental or something authority figure, like I am seeing somebody who like at the front of the room in one way or another. So like a front of the room sort of a person, leadership kind of a position in one way or another. Or this is going to be an ideal that you survived for. When we're trying to survive deprivation and heartbreak, you know, like that's deprivation and heartbreak. You know, when we're trying to survive that and we're trying to grasp for some level of control in order to get our needs met with a withholding energy, we can create an ideal. We can create an ideal of what we know that we're longing for, that we're not receiving, and we can project that somewhere where that will call us out of a bad situation or out of something that, you know, we have to survive it, right? And so you're called into that survival process. That's being called onto a journey. And all of that usually operates around some ideal that is set, that once you see it, you start moving in that direction of emancipation. 1,000 times out of 1,000, that ideal that you set to survive with, when you start surviving the survival and you find that that ideal is not met, often we will hit that disappointment. And I actually do see that as a desert of disappointment. I don't know, someone said that, I think, because it's like, wow, this is coming back to me. So this is sort of like where you hit this desert of disappointment, that ideal, whether it was an ideal life, an ideal partner, an ideal world, an ideal adulthood. A lot of times we survive childhood with an ideal adulthood before us, and that ideal disappoints us. So this is like a disappointment at a level that's something that kept you waiting and kept you waiting and kept you waiting. The hope delayed makes the heart sick is a verse. I think it's a biblical one. Something made your, like, that you waited for and you waited for and you waited for, and you had faith and you had belief and you had hope. And again, you know, if this is a more parental energy, it's a way in which like this energy set the standard for you that was an impossible standard, or this person didn't show up, or they withheld, or they were absent, and therefore the ideal that you were moving towards in the way of like, how can I bring this justice to my life? Have this need met. There's a huge, massive disappointment here. And so the first thing that this person wants to say is, I know how much I hurt you by keeping you waiting and withholding that which you desired. Like, I get it. And this can even be a God energy. You can even be sitting here in your reading and saying, I have beef with God. I have a problem with God. Like, we have some words that need to be spoken, because this higher self energy that I'm interacting with, you know, the layers that I'm able to sort of like, if I move in farther and farther and farther, I get closer and closer to, you know, where this archetype starts, you know, in terms of like, you know, that father figure or that ideal as something that isn't so much in the shadow as it is a counterfeit representation, because you have to first sort of encounter the counterfeit before you can encounter the real. There's always a counterfeit for every real. When I look even deeper, when I move even deeper into this energy, sort of in that light attribute, this energy leads to, as represented, a God and God force and God. And so there might be this way in which you're looking at God and you're saying, you kept me waiting on my heart's desire. You withheld from me. You forced me in a position where the choice that I had to make was one that was going to change me, right? So there's something here about the gift here that this energy wants to bring into your perspective on this. But at the wound, at the center of the wound, you know, when we touch that wound, it is this energy saying, I know I kept you waiting and I broke your heart. And that hit you as a straw that broke camel's back over your hope of the world being a good place, of your hope of people being good people, of your hope that if you were a good enough person, you'd be spared certain cruelties, because there's something about cruelty shattering your reality and you needing to step into a new reality where cruelty played a role. and you didn't have that knowledge, you know, before this interaction in one way or another. And that innocence that was taken by putting you into a position where you now hold this knowledge is also a major, major loss that this energy is pointing out as like, this is grief, right? This is grief that you've had to endure. So let's take a look. Let's keep on going. Let's get a sip of water. This energy never gave you enough. I just heard someone say no. No, this energy did not ever give you enough. And so with that Three of Wands and that Three of Swords, I sort of want to move over to this Knight of Swords, which is taking action and making a decision on taking action. For you was very tricky here. And so this energy is saying, listen, I didn't give you enough. I didn't have anything to give. And that may have not been obvious. And there's a template of like, you know, you sort of being set up for this in one way or another, being set up for a relationship where pining and longing was all you knew of love. And therefore that relationship had to, in one way or another, have some distance that kept you sort of comfortable and in familiar territory. So this energy saying, you know, by withholding love for you, it created the pattern of identifying love not as itself, but as a type of longing that is always pining for love. And so relationships, when you enter in them, if there isn't that pining, there's almost a feeling of, well, this isn't love. And so this energy is saying, you know, what had broke you, or what did break you, or what is sort of breaking you about the nature of the world that doesn't provide a safe love, is that identifying love is not easy for you as a result of some of the ways that you've misled about its nature. And this is an energy that's saying like there is a misleading about the nature of love like baked in here. And so take a deep breath with that. Take a moment to like think about it for a second, because if what you are identifying as the space of where love lives, if you are identifying the space of where love lives as a longing, as an aspiration, as a working for, performing for, delivering by way of like, you know, being in service of, that's not it. And so what does it look like when there isn't a work-a-day aspect? You know, what does it look like when it isn't a craning for? What is arrival? Because I don't think that this person has ever arrived at real love. I think this person has always sort of stood in the place of projecting a story about love or a reality about love that isn't true. That is, this person has nothing to give, and they're holding it together, and the way that they hold it together, the strength of the pillar that holds their lack together and their sense of lack together, seems to be something along the lines of, I look good, don't I? I can make my life at the surface level look very good. I can make my presentation very, very good. I can walk into any room with a confidence and a something that is going to, you know, elevate me. But then upholding that is so much work with that Four of Pentacles, real like inadequacy, sense of inadequacy, real sense of lack, that there is actually nothing to give. And the only experience with relationships tends to be along the lines of in service of. And then we have a system of like I see like a pet being fed like approval, like here's your carrot, yeah, approval, and there's never an equality, you know. There's always just this energy like diving for snacks of approval in lieu of love. And that approval is it's gonna be these types of stories about love that aren't necessarily the experience of it. You know, we look like this, we are this, they are that, we are this, they are that, we are this, without any real substance to the relationship. We have this, they don't have that. That's kind of how the relationship holds its value, or whatever it was, like holds its value for them. A relationship holds its value by being able to talk about it like we have this and they don't have that. Not like the experiencing the relationship, the experiencing of the intimacy. It's almost like a play acting that never ends, because this person has only ever known play acting. They've only ever done that. They've only ever had that. That's it. That's the cap. That's the depth. That's where it goes. And so you seeking depth, they don't have it. It's not even there. And that's their cross to bear in a lot of ways, because that's a reckoning for them to sort of be able to look out at the substance of what they've built And this energy is saying, you know, where you are in this place with what you've received and actually not received. Well, you need to know about where this energy is right now, and the experience that this energy is having right now, this person is having. They are stepping into that reckoning, and that reckoning is going to bear itself out over the course of the lifespan, with them only having the surface acknowledgement of what they have and never having the experience of satisfaction of receiving anything of real value. That is going to leave a outcome, a landscape. The fruit of that field is going to be sick, like putrid, falls to the ground, offers nothing, barren, because there's nothing substantive that was put into what it means for there to be something that would grow, that would actually offer nourishment from the effort. So staying at the surface has only hurt them, and staying at the surface is only hurting them. And they recognize they're at the surface. They're seeing the depth that does not exist there in their relationships. They're understanding now the mechanism of distraction and petty narration that has sort of kept them from ever getting deep enough to touch something valuable. You know, they see the spinning of the wheels and the spinning and the weaving of the stories that has sort of kept them in places of seeking ground, higher ground, not higher ground quite literally, but like seeking supremacy and by comparison, and always putting in the effort to like one up and one up and one up and one up at a completely surface level, not realizing that there would be no payoff for that. Aside from a pile of stuff, there would be no payoff for that. And so that's with this Two of Swords being a blocked path, and this Queen of Cups being this moment of, I almost say like it's a moment of clarity, but like the type of moment of clarity that like I'm almost seeing, there's some kind of a, what is that? Moment of clarity. There's something to this blue color that keeps on coming to me. Like break from reality, false reality, being under a spell. You know, something like being, like I'm seeing being under a spell, but I'm seeing like drugs and alcohol. And so there's something about being under a kind of, that the drugs and the alcohol, they provide a sort of fiction on life that keeps you from ever getting, that you don't get to mature, because it's sort of, it's a room that you go into that holds a kind of pleasure that like takes that takes your time and your youth and keeps you sort of held in place, right? And then I'm seeing that, like, you know, this sort of a thing, this energy, this higher self is saying, you know, yes, that's an example, you know, and I think for some people that's valid, but there's a place that you can go from that is, you move away from the substance itself, but you still insist on shallow waters, you still insist on shallow stories, you didn't have the maturity to hold the weight of the difficulty of life. This energy is saying, I didn't have the maturity to hold the weight of the difficulty of life. I couldn't look life square in the face and say, hey life, you know, this is how hard it is, this is how broken it is, this is how much I have to show up, and this is what I need to be in order to actually, you know, fulfill the role that I've promised in one way or another to fulfill. This energy looked at the reality of what that would mean, and they wanted to dive back into some like way in which they could go back in time, they could go back into their youth, they could, you know, do some chemical version of that, and that wasn't sustainable, and that wasn't what they really wanted, and that wasn't what they were going to do. And so, you know, they couldn't anesthetize away from life, they're saying, but they also couldn't take life as a whole. And so what they dove into was yet another false spell, another weaving, another false magic, another enchantment. And it didn't necessarily take the form of a substance. It probably took some form of a relationship, if not with themselves. It's this energy saying, for some of you, it's a relationship that they had with themselves, where if anything of depth came near them, like I would see like a racquetball or like a tennis racket, like pop, you know, no depth, like absolutely no, you deal with that yourself, like trauma dumping, and it's literally like, not trauma dumping, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, the tiniest need, the tiniest processing, this energy didn't have the ability to hold that depth, even with a child, I'm seeing. So this is like a very, very big deal, where this energy is saying, I chose to anesthetize myself in any way that I could. And if it wasn't with substances, it was going to be with a goal or work or with a relationship, anything to get me outside of myself, leaving forces of evil, forces of manipulation, forces of destruction to just take the reins and manipulate me in whatever direction was going to give me that next hit of either approval or a confirmation bias. Keeping things in control for them sort of meant keeping things at a surface level. And anyone who threatened to take them into a feeling space that was depthy was thrown out, was thrown under the bus. And I'm seeing there are very valid, this energy saying there were valid reasons why I needed to be the strong one in these situations. There were valid reasons why I needed to stand there and be with you and let you be the one that needed, instead of me being the one that needed everybody else to not need anything. And so this energy takes responsibility for never actually showing up at that point of heartbreak, never actually showing up when they were needed, instead running and skittering off into some narration along the lines of so-and-so needs to get their crap together, so-and-so should have done something differently, so-and-so is doing things wrong, instead of this is a relationship where I have a responsibility to show up. They failed to do that, and they know that they failed to do that, and they are going to be paying for that for a very long time. That sadness, that depth of grief that they inflicted on everyone around them. And it's not just you. They will be carrying that. They will be holding the weight of that, because it wasn't without effect, and there are consequences, and there were consequences, and there will be forms of consequences. And this energy wants to bring you out of some of the anger and rumination around anger that happens when you start with those indictments and that referendum, because you're not wrong. But this energy as a higher self is saying, but you're only hurting yourself, because your focus needs to be on life, not on the death of those hopes, not on the death of those dreams, not on the death of those opportunities that came at the hands of this energy not coming through. Your energy should not be sucked down that funnel. That is the trap that this higher self wants to pull you out of, because that is the pain, that is the karmic debt, that is the impossible agony that this energy in their higher form feels when they're encountering this pain in you. And I want to cry because I can feel those energies saying, like, this energy, oh gosh, I might actually cry. This energy is really heavy right now in terms of saying, like, do not let my inability to recognize what love is and my inability to, like, show what love was keep you from living. Don't let that happen. And so, this bottom of the deck energy being justice, of course, there is a justice here, for you, but you're not going to be able to access that justice if the brokenness that was inflicted upon you in this way keeps you from God. And by that, I mean keeps you from life and life-giving opportunities and life-giving energies, because you have to make a choice here of what you're going to do with these losses. And this energy is coming in almost like saying, at the nick of time, hopefully at the nick of time, this energy is coming in, and I'm getting so emotional, I'm going to go with it. This energy is coming in to say, at the nick of time, please make the choice to move towards what will be your victory, what will be your union, what will be like those hopes, not yet actually, like that made the heart sick, that did not come to fruition, that can be. This energy says, if you keep looking back on what wasn't, you're not going to get at what can be, and you deserve it here. And deserve is a funny word, but you have earned a beautiful Four of Wands kind of a union and a partnership. And this energy doesn't want that to be something that you can't stand up from the wounds here in order to begin to walk towards what it would mean to receive, because there's healing that has to go into that. And so there's so much pain here that I'm tapping into as I listen to this energy, because there is a major injustice, and this injustice, the karma is great for this higher self. The karma is not insignificant for this higher self, because the straw that broke the camel's back still broke the camel's back. And there is something to be said for that little strange thing that happens, and with the karmic, fluctuations of things, that the bigger the impact, the larger the debt in some ways. And it's not a perfect system. So it's not really debt in the way that you might think of debt. It's debt in the way of when you get to the end of your life and you're doing that life review and you're able to feel, see, and experience the hurts that your presence inflicted upon those that were around you and the impact that those hurts had. You feel that. And so even if this person was just the straw, the weight of it will impact them. They will know what it meant to be that straw. And so there's an importance here for you in terms of the need for healing is for you, yeah. And in a way, it's for somebody who hurt you too. And I know that might be hard to sit with. I know that might be hard to take into your heart, but my sense is you love this person enough or loved this person enough that this higher self energy urging you, begging you, pleading with you right now to please find a way to truly forgive them, because they never had enough love in the first place and they inflicted that on you. But they did not mean to create a fissure. And some of these wounds are worse than others, you know. It's not like a small thing. You know, I don't get a sense with this reading that there's anything small here. I'm just taking a sip of water. Whew. You have a great calling on your life. This Four of Wands and this Queen of Cups. You have a great calling on your life and you haven't been given enough. And having not been given enough makes you feel like there's not enough to give. And that's a reality here, because at this middle point where this choice has to be made, where this action has to be taken toward hope and the future of a hopeful future, and moving into the space of healing and moving into the space of even reparenting yourself to a certain degree, there's a blockage here around your heart space. And there's a need for a message of healing that this energy, this higher self was saying, I did not give you enough to even learn proper receiving. And one way or another, this energy is saying, like, whether it's the straw that broke that camel's back, or whether it is the withholding that you received from everyone else in the world, because you were aiming for love at longing, you were aiming for love at pining, you were aiming for love at earning it. There hasn't been reciprocity, because the formula or the container or whatever this energy keeps on showing me that there's a certain like formula, like I'm seeing a math problem. There's a certain formula that you take into the world with you, and like, I don't know if it's like geometry, it's math, it's formula, okay, it's algebra, right? So there's just like there are certain things that would allow you to receive equal give and take, that without that crucial piece of knowledge, this is why this is the weight of everything, not just the straw that broke the camel's back, but the weight of everything. Without that crucial piece of knowledge about what it would mean to give and receive properly, the wound would be every time you go into the world, you never receive, you never receive, you never receive. There is no God, there is no fair world. But it's really just like that formula isn't right. You're going to the world with the wrong formula and you're getting the wrong result. And so what this energy is saying, you know, like, I do take accountability for providing the wrong formula, but this energy is saying that I was in the wrong formula. I was living from the wrong formula. I was experiencing from the wrong formula. That was my wrong formula, and I was suffering from that wrong formula. That it was passed to you, that you picked it up, that you operated with it. This energy wants to bring that healing. So let's get just a little bit more on what that formula might be for you. You know, as we sort of close out of this reading, let's take a look at that formula and just see what we can leave you with in the way of, like, you know, some healing advice, because I think that there's a lot that this energy came forth to say in terms of, I know I failed. Absolutely, there's no two ways about it. This is a out and out failure. And now the choice that needs to be made in terms of what it is for you to come into the right types of union. Coming into the right types of union, come into the right types of union with yourself, the right type of union with the world and the ecosystem around you, the right type of union with your opportunities. It's a right type of operating in the world and operating with the self that is able to receive. It's that formula. So making a choice to step into what it means to begin to receive is a big part of what this healing is, because with that Two of Swords and that Queen of Cups, it's just this total blockage. And so we really need a message here. We really need a clear cut, like how. How do we do this? That's the Eight of Pentacles. Okay, in reverse. How do we do this? Okay. Six of Pentacles. Gosh, how many times are we going to do this? You got the Six of Pentacles. You got the Six of Pentacles. And I thought there was another Six of Pentacles because of the way that this is. Is there another one? No. Well, here's what we're looking at here. With the Six of Pentacles here on the bottom of the deck, you know, being about like this reciprocity, the formula for reciprocity, power under, over, power under. But this is actually an energy that's saying, you know, what you don't realize or what you may not realize is that it is a power under. This person was under a power. This higher self is saying, I was under a power. I was under a powerful vengeance and a powerful punishment by way of like my own punishing myself and everything that I did to meet some kind of goal for somebody else that wasn't meant to be the goals that I was meeting for everybody that I was meant to meet them for, or goal for, you know, how I wanted to be perceived and how I wanted to be seen, and the picture I was creating of my life was an empty picture. But this was not something that this energy knew. And so there's this way in which you may have said to this energy to their face 1,000 times, like, you're not getting it, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. They couldn't get beyond, I am doing it right, here's the picture, I'm presenting it. Look, I have a picture. And you were saying, no, you don't have a picture. You have something that isn't even remotely close to what is needed, what it means to be needed, and you're needed. And so with the Six of Pentacles being about, well, what does it mean to receive? There is an expectation of punishment with needs that your guide, not your guide, this energy, like is I guess guide, this energy is basically saying, you know, the first thing is going to be about if the experience of the need, if feeling the need, if having the need is immediately in a relationship with punishment. This is super common. Anyone who's had to deal with narcissists knows what this is. And so this is an energy that's saying, like, that right there is number one part of the formula, that you need to be able to have a need without panic. And with the Eight of Pentacles in reverse, you know, one of the ways that you're going to do that is having a need and having that panic, and then working really, really hard to appease that panic. Working really, really hard to either get these needs met all the way, 100%, and what you can't get met, you're just going to work even harder until you can work even harder, until you can work even harder, because that work hard is going to lead to the needs getting met. And so step number one, when you panic because your needs aren't met, or when you panic because you're feeling a need, take a deep breath. That's a hurt. That's a wound. That's a trauma. The need is okay. The need is not a problem. Now you have to stop working so hard. You have to start going into hyperdrive and beginning on the effort to somehow meet all of the needs. It all has to happen. You're the only one. This energy is well aware of the pressure, the undue pressure, and the undue weight of what it has meant for you to have to meet all of your needs on your own. That's part of where they went horrendously wrong in one way or another. And not knowing how to know that your needs cannot all be met on your own. You were not designed for that. So an acceptance about, I can meet a bunch of my needs, but I'm not even designed or meant to meet all of my needs. And where there are unmet needs, there isn't punishment. So those unmet needs, they can exist. And sometimes those needs are tyrannical. You got to pay your rent. That's something you can't really negotiate with. But sometimes those needs are just an ache. And where those needs are an ache, there's no fight against it. There's no, I have to hurry up and do something about this. There's, let's look at this. Let's spend some time with this. Let's bring your presence to that pain, because what that pain needs is a presence, and it is your presence, and it is your attention. And that's not solving the problem, but it is attending to the wound. And so when we think about this 10 of Swords as being an absolute nightmare of wounds that have gone untended, because there was never enough to meet all of the needs. And so there was triage. And so this triage here is talking about all of these needs that have kind of mounted, that have gone unmet. And where they have gone met is the expectation of punishment. And where that expectation of punishment is, so does a hatred of self. And so this energy, this higher self is saying, love yourself. Love yourself. You are worth loving. You are lovable. I should have loved you. I do love you. If I could have seen what it would have meant to love you properly, I would have loved you properly. You are worthy of all of that love. Take that in, hold that. And with belief as permission, allow yourself to, with that, move away from the need to condemn the world for its cruelty. This energy is saying, condemn me for my cruelty. And when you're condemning me for my cruelty, understand that I was blind and I did not even see what I was doing. And please heal for me, for you. This energy says it's not about vengeance. And this energy might deserve to suffer. They are suffering. But they are begging for that suffering to be alleviated around, you're allowed to have needs. You can't meet all of your needs. You're meant to have needs. There's no punishment. There's no shame. There's no panic. You're going to tend to this. You're going to bring your presence to that pain. With this judgment, it's a decision to not sit in the energy of the defeated, and to instead move into this energy. Take the moment. Make that judgment. Make that decision. I'm going to take action on the life that is good, the life where I can receive, the life where there are things that are meant for me, the life where whatever God is has a dream and a hope and a provision for me, that I have to make a decision and begin to step into that direction, begin to manifest, begin to believe is permission, open those doors. It comes with a judgment, it comes with a choice that says, yes, this was the bad formula. But what it means to make this decision is to move into this 10 of Pentacles place of inheritance. And it might be hard for you to believe that that's there for you. But with the Knight of Swords here and the 3 of Pentacles being about all of the, I hear this and I kind of flinched at it a little bit, because I thought, like, oof, I heard all the King's horses and all the King's men. You might very well at this moment be sitting in a place where all the King's horses and all the King's men. You were high up on that hill. You saw the world as a beautiful place. You had beliefs. You were surviving for the sake of taking in that vista, of having an experience of the world, of being invited into belonging, being given a place, being able to operate from that place, being able to have the things that you survive for, only to reach the desert of reality that was never going to be the ideal. And instead of letting that bury you alive, because it is devastating, instead of being able to look back and see everything that gave you the wrong formula, that placed you in this place, that feels a lot like this Four of Pentacles. It's almost like a contagion. This energy that did this to you was when this Four of Pentacles energy of, I'm just going to hold it together, I'm enough, and no, I can't trust anybody, and I'll put on a show. I can perform love, I can perform care, I can perform it all for the image that I have and the image I want to project, but I'm not going to be providing anything real, and those people are going to be waiting, and they're going to go without. Taking this action on the world where there is something for you to build with others, and a belief that can happen for you, is stepping into your 10 of Pentacles inheritance of who you are, what you have to offer, the enrichment that you bring the world. And it means getting, and this energy is like getting your head out of all the reasons why it was not right to put you in this position. Because being in all the reasons why it wasn't good to put you in this position is keeping you from moving out of that position. And that is the call of today's reading right now. is a call. They're, you know, to call you out of a certainty that the world is no good and there's no love in it, and into an open-hearted place of this person set a bad precedent. They gave a bad formula, and they want more than anything to see that spell break over your life. And to do that, you have to choose to see a different picture than the one they painted for you. And this is kind of a big deal. And so I'm gonna get just a couple more cards to end with, because I feel like we just need a little sentence or two. You know, there's so much love here. And then, you know, when I lean my head all the way in, when I put my head all the way and I see that I can, like, I move towards the archetype that is the form of God. And this God saying, you know, forgive me. Forgive me. We're brought up with a perfect God. You know, we're brought up being told that whatever the omnipotent, all-powerful is, it doesn't have any cause for, you know, apology. But there's a way in which this energy is saying the things that you have had to go through during the course of the development of the whole, of which we are all a part of, were painful. We're going to cost. We're going to hurt. We're going to leave you in a position where you have to make a choice for yourself, and in many ways by yourself, for what is meant for you. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that pain was yours alone to hold in so many ways. It wasn't. There was assistance, there were guides, but there was a message that said, your needs aren't allowed here, which is another message. You know, any message that says your needs aren't allowed here is a message that says you're not allowed here. And so this energy is saying, I'm sorry that you didn't feel like you had a place to need. I'm just listening, I'm waiting for more. I'm like, that can't end it there. I'm sorry that you didn't have a place to need. Because there is a sense in which, you know, you have to sit with these needs that are unmet for a while and allow them to just be unmet. Because the process of making this choice and moving in this new direction necessitates a journey towards this justice that, yes, there is 10 of Pentacles here. Yes, there is this is the 3 of Wands, waiting. This is the 4 of Wands, this is arrival. This is what we're taking this action towards. This is where the decision between a heartbreak that is excruciating, you have to let go of this heartbreak. The heartbreak is a part of you that you don't want to abandon. You don't want to leave this person who got their heart broken. You want to hold them. You don't want to let go of them. And that heartbroken person is you. And so it's like that cause to leave the heartbroken version of yourself, because that version is kept propped up and breathing in pain by your refusal to just let this die in one way or another, let this hope go. Because that's the only way that this choice, this action is made towards a new future. You can't drag the corpse of unmet need and the corpse of the agony of an unmet love. You can't drag that to the altar. And your guys are saying, let this dream go. Because the dream that is meant for you isn't telling you you're not allowed to dream, you're not allowed to have that dream, you were wrong in the first place. What your guys are saying, or what this energy is saying, is the formula that you were given was the wrong formula. You have to let that formula go, which means let that dream go, because when you let that dream go, what you're allowing to resurrect from the base of who you are is the formula, the real thing, because you're looking at a picture of love that is a false picture of love, which is only going to cause another round of heartbreak. And this energy is saying, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to let you let this dream die once and for all, because it's a formula that you were given about what love is that it's not, so that you actually can have this love. And so you just have to believe that this love exists in a place where you haven't seen it before. Believe that this love exists in a place where you haven't experienced before. Believe that this love exists in a place where you haven't touched, smelled, or tasted it before. This is faith. And so it's a very tall order. That's why this is the God card. So you have to embrace this in between where your needs are not yet fully met, and a belief that they will be. And that's seeing the big picture here. And so pile number 1 would be playful, you know, right here, and time to let go Yes, it's time to let go, but to do this with an open heart, to do this with a sense of you are loved and you are valued, and that Three of Wands waiting does not have to be foreclosed at forever. You can make this decision and you can take this action to lower the stakes here with the be playful, see the big picture, and embrace this time in between, because this is a time of the birth and the blooming of faith for you. So pile number one, let's leave that with you there. I am sending you blessings. I am sending you love. I am sending you hope. And I want you to know that whatever higher self you are wanting to connect with is a higher self that loves you so much. And they are begging you to release this debt, not because they don't want to hold it, but because they can't bear the thought of you holding this any longer. So let's do it together, pile number one. Let's decide to just put this on the altar and release it. And so we're going to leave it there. Again, hugs and love. Okay, pile number two. Let's go. Let me move this guy out of the way. Okay, pile number two, those of you that chose the ladybug, let's go ahead and see what their higher self wants to tell you. Wow. I actually want to get more cards before I dive all the way in there. This is going to be an energy that really hurt you. There's no two ways about it. Let me find out a little bit more. That's pretty bad. Okay, let me take a look and see. This is somebody who affected your sense of your own personal boundaries in a very profound way. The Emperor here. Chariot. The Ace of Cups. Yeah, that's what I felt. The King of Wands. And the Wheel of Fortune with the Seven of Swords. So this energy was deceptive. This energy deceived themselves, and they deceived you, and they really, really hurt you with this. And I don't even know if they've ever, like, the vibe I'm getting from the higher self of this person is that they didn't even, like, they themselves were not even in touch with what they did. They were not even full. I mean, for them, it was like you had two different experiences of this. And I think this is severe. And so I'm having some trouble trying to express what this guy is saying, but I think it's important to say it. This energy who I'm connecting with, this higher self, it has hurt you in a way that you weren't even fully aware of, and they were never fully aware of. There's something about the nature of this hurt that the perpetrator, this individual who's like deceived themselves, deceived everyone around them too. This person is in such a mired in a level of deception about their effects on people. So this person, unable to really qualify or understand the magnitude of the effects that they have on others with the deception that they live in. So the deception that they live in, that they operate through, that they're walking around in, and they don't, from that place, have a real connection with themselves. And so since there is that disconnection, there's their genuine 100% real higher self. And that higher, like that connection to ourself tells us when we are morally right or morally wrong, when we have done something to hurt someone and when we haven't done something to hurt someone, or even when we've been hurt, right? And so that connection to ourselves is our inner compass. It's also our conscience, you know. And so this person lives in such a fiction that there's a disconnect from that place of inner compass. And so what they do to everyone that they love in one way or another, they're actually like filling a template. They are enacting that ancestral curse in one way or another. They're moving through it. They are representing it. They are bringing it into the world, and they are giving it its hold. And they don't realize that that's what they're doing. They don't even understand where they are hollowed out from self. Because with this Emperor energy of a bully, and I'm feeling this like bully energy. I'm feeling this like buffalo, like kind of pushy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not buffalo. I'm seeing like a bull. I don't know what that is. Kind of like sort of like like with the nose, like, like, you know what I mean? Like this is this energy's like, it's kind of, it's like, I don't know how to explain that. That's kind of, but it's this King of Wands energy of like what it means to, plop themselves in every room, take all the air in that room, and then dole out what everyone is meant to have. And like they, and like really harsh, like ways in which they like operate like cruelly, and don't even realize where they're going with it, and don't even realize that it has the effect that it has, and will come back at you with, I love you so much, what are you talking about? Like, I'm the most amazing force of love that there is. And this really has to change, because they're just in a deception at all times about how they affect people, how their presence is, you know, operating here. And so this higher self is saying that there's a real problem with what they did to you, a real problem with the way that they regarded you, a real problem with the way that they hurt you, and they never gave you any credit to that. I think this is interesting, because yes, this person knows that they hurt you. Yes, they understand that it was a damaging thing, but they do not truly, because they're not in touch with that conscience, take responsibility for it. And so what you get from this person is some level of acknowledgement, but no felt sense that there is a like real, like these are like hollow acknowledgements, hollow apologies. And that's because they don't even have it in them to actually like feel it. And so they have victimized you. And part of that victimization is really cutting you off at the pass when it comes to your path and the love that you were meant to receive in a lot of ways. And so like there's something here with that. So let's go ahead and get actually nothing. Yeah, I'll use this deck. Let's get some more cards out here with that. And I'm seeing there's just saw 555. So Wheel of Fortune, 555, there's a change coming in. This person does have a lot of love for you, but this is a sticky situation. You know, a lot of like the higher selves that we're dealing with. You know, when we're dealing with someone's higher self and that person is disconnected from their higher self, that's gonna be like a form of narcissism in one way or another, or covert narcissism, because like both of those things. And I hate using those terms, because there's things, all of that stuff exists on a spectrum of possession, actually, and like where you're present and where you're self-possessed and where you're not. So I want to be careful about the way that I say that stuff. But this is definitely an energy that operates from a fiction. They really do. They have a sense of the truth, but they don't have the connection, so that they can report the truth. They can report their blame, or they can report, you know, their responsibility, but they never connect to it. Because they never connect to it, they have a lot of anger about what it means to be told, hey, what you're doing is painful. They know it, and they'll report to you that they know it, and then they want to be off the hook. And then and that is where this higher self is saying, like, I get it. I see, you know, like that you don't really like, yeah, this is interesting. With that 7 of Pentacles here and the 7 of Wands, you have to defend yourself with this person kind of actively, because they talk with 2 mouths, because they're not really sure. So this person with this, wow, hold on one second. Okay. Whenever something breaks, I like, for as long as I've been alive, like every time someone tosses like a curse or a you know, a soulish prayer or some sort of like an evil eye, if something breaks, it absorbs it, right? And so I always know when something like that happens, that like in that moment, like the channel's open, there's an opportunity to break something, to like absorb something. And so we actually just had the break here, you know. And so this higher self is saying, you know, this is a real curse around evil eye in a lot of ways, like, and there does seem to be this higher self is saying, you know, evil eye plays like a really, really big role in all of this, and the one of the main pieces of like major deception when it comes to protecting yourself and having to work at protecting yourself with this energy is that this energy is not even truly aware of the way that they victimize others with what really felt like, because again, it was like a curse that was broken. It was something that was thrown at you that we intercept, and it stops the problem. With the Five of Wands being about like that competition here. There is a competition here over not enough with the Four of Pentacles, and that Page of Wands is coming from an immature place. And so this energy in one way or another was in a competition with you. This energy from in one reason or another can't help but compete with you. With the King of Wands in that Chariot, like pushing something forward. And so like at the heart of a lot of what goes on is when you shine, when you are beautiful, when you are charismatic, when you are of any kind of a value here, there's something here with a victimization that comes up. This person can't really be trusted. I don't think that they're in control of this. Yeah, control, reversal of fortune. And so the higher self is, let me get in touch with this higher self, because I'm kind of looking at the circumstances around this. And I need this energy to kind of tell me more than just like protect yourself, because we're sort of here for more than that. We're here for a control, reversal of fortune, and this knowledge of distrust here. I have some water. So this energy understands that it victimized you from this place of deception within itself, and deceiving others about you in a way that had a real negative impact. Deception of the self. And they would get others, involved in whatever this deception is too. There's more than one hand cutting your throat. And I don't mean that in a way that like, let me see what that is. Like, why is that there actually? Self-worth. Yeah, trying to keep you from any sense of your self-worth, because there's always this person can't help but compete in one way or another. Four of Pentacles is about scarcity. Page of Wands is going to be an immature energy, and that Five of Wands is constantly competing. So I'm going to ask this energy to tell me what is this all about. Let's get some information about what is this all about. Because that Ace of Cups is such a bottomless pit of love, really. And that Wheel of Fortune is talking about change and all of this. And so this energy, this higher self is saying, I want to bring in some change around what this is, because I keep on getting angry, which is surprising, because a higher self energy, and this is a higher self energy, is an energy that is ascended. And so the anger that I'm picking up on, like, it isn't its anger, it's my anger, has to do with not really understanding what this deception is all about. Because that's like, I can feel this energy's love, and I can also feel that there's like such a level of deception, whatever this connection or dynamic is, or this relationship is, that it annoys me. As a reader, I'm like, that's annoying. And it is, because it's like, why can't you just like, why not just express love? I was sure that I felt a card flip, but I didn't see it, so I don't know if that was all right. Yeah, felt it. Princess of Wands. Okay. Yeah, let's take a look. The Princess of Wands and the Princess of Wands, sort of the Page of Wands, the Princess of Wands. This energy is a fiery energy. You're so this higher self is saying, and I want to be careful about this, because there's some sort of there's a rivalry energy here, and whether it's like sibling or like work, like I'm just picking up on it, some kind of a rivalry going on here with this. But it's because the self-worth and trade, something about your value being like this energy saying, I am responsible for deceiving you and everybody else around you in one way or another about what your value was. And so you would have had a relationship with this person, and they're saying that it's a prototype, that it's something that's an early relationship, that this is speaking to, and then it's a relationship that repeated in terms of the prototype with another person. And it was one of these relationships where this individual in one way or another, this higher self in one way or another, at this point made a slave of you, or wanted to make a slave of you, wanted you to be their slave, and everything that was of value about you, they wanted it to be in service of them and in service of what they wanted to do with you, like play with you like a little doll in one way or another. But they didn't want anyone to see your value, because the moment that somebody else saw your value, it A, threatened what they were getting from you, but B, this is such an insecure person at the heart of it, you know, but with this not being in touch, no center of gravity, no sense of the truth of who they are, that they constantly are in like this energy of dehumanizing or belittling or making fun of or cornering, like, you know what I mean? Like anybody who, their higher self is saying, I'm always competitive. It doesn't matter who I'm sitting in the room with. This energy is saying, like, even if I'm sitting in the room with grandma, or even if I'm sitting in the room with the bus driver, I'm still competing. Like, and so there's something about that, because it's a fire. I'm seeing definite fire sign energy here. And this emperor, of course, is like, with this heartbreak is sort of like, I'm going to take control of every situation. I'm going to have control over every situation. Every way that everybody else is viewed, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be viewed the best, and then I'll decide who gets viewed the best based on that. There's a very like king, queen, like toxic sort of energy with that, and it causes a lot of pain. And so this energy is coming in to say, like, very powerfully, like, I know that I hurt you, and I want to see, because I'm like, what is this? It's, you know, but they're showing me that, like, what they considered like not a big deal, because I'm seeing like childhood bullying, you know, because it kind of feels like childhood bullying having such a profound effect. And so this energy is saying, you know, I deceived myself about the effect that I had upon you. I deceived myself about the effect I had on a lot of people, and I deceived myself on even the effect I had upon myself when it came to my selfishness around this worth, and who has worth, and who's going to get worth, and who's going to be given worth, and who's the resources going to go to, when are they going to go there, and how are they going to go, and just killing and hurting people with that, because they're not on their own path, you know, they're on this path of acquisition. And with this 9 of Cups on the bottom of the deck, and that 7 of Wands, again, they're really just defending themselves against what they want, you know, not really connecting with themselves. 2 of Pentacles. So this energy is saying that I left you in a position where you had to make do with barely enough constantly, and I tried to undermine your worth in front of other people. I tried to undermine your worth in my own mind, and I did this because I victimized you. And I victimized you because I was in some sort of rivalry, and I was in some sort of immature energy. There's an energy here that says I didn't even know what I was doing. This is giving like shot up a classroom at 5 years old vibes. Like, and I don't mean that in like I'm not trying to like, because this higher self that is communicating with me like didn't do anything like that whatsoever, like in any way, shape, or form. And what I'm picking up when I look at that is like the culpability is off. And so I that's a very intense, like, big example that's a disproportionate example. But like, if you could take that example and try and like bring it down to size, you know, just like a person in a family, or a person in a relationship, or a person in a group, having that kind of effect like on the group, and then turning around and being like, oh, I'm 5, like I didn't know, you know. And so and we see that here in terms of the culpability with that 7 of Swords, in terms of like their culpability and being an object of destruction and misinformation and victimizing and taking more than is their fair share and leaving others with not enough. Like this energy saying, like, I get it, you know, like I did that, like this is something that I want to bring before you as a, like, this is what I was doing. And it sucks. I mean, it's actually, you know, the 9 of Cups though, and the 7 of Wands, they were defending against your acquisition of happiness in the same way they were defending against their acquisition of happiness. They just didn't know it. They didn't operate with any real coherence. They didn't operate with any real understanding. It doesn't make them less culpable. But their higher self is saying, where we have a little bit of justice here, which is not even much, you know, that's why I think another reason why I'm sort of annoyed is this notion of like, well, this person wasn't particularly culpable and they were sort of innocent, but they hurt you. There is a level of victimization here that can't be easily undone. And with the High Priestess, it still remains unspoken. And with the King of Wands and the Chariot, let's get some more on that, because that's, I don't understand that completely. What is the King of Wands and the Chariot here? That Wheel of Fortune, you know, that needs to happen in terms of the love that you are owed. So this energy that is coming towards me right now in terms of like this higher self speaking to you is saying, I will make, I know what I owe you. I owe you. I owe you enough that enables you to move into this next phase. And there's some choice that needs to be made about this culpability that exists here. So this is an energy that the higher self is saying, I owe you. I have a debt to you. I took something that I should not have taken. I didn't know that I was taking something that I didn't know that I should not have taken. It cost you in self-worth. That cost in self-worth had an effect over the long term. And I owe you. I owe you love. And I owe you everything that you were meant to receive in the way of love, because that is where that person is stationed karmically right now. And that's a lot. That's a very, very big deal. They don't even realize it. And there is some defense here against what it means to, you know, you have to work at defending yourself. Like still, this higher self is saying you still kind of have to be careful. You still have to sort of work to defend yourself. There's still not a coherence about this, but karmically, I owe you all the love that was taken from you by way of your self-worth was where that cost, where that battlefield, where that loss really was. And so this energy is saying, I owe you. I very seriously owe you. And what has been unspoken with the Queen of Wands in reverse and the Chariot here, let me get some more information on that. Because this stuff is done from like a child petty place, or not even like a petty place. It's done from like an immaturity. And when people do stuff from immaturity, it's always really tricky. Because it's like you don't really want to deal with baby stupid, but you don't want to kill baby stupid either. You know what I mean? Because like what needs to happen is a revelation and an accountability, and that comes from a process of maturing that we're not really seeing that this person had the opportunity for or really sat with. Yeah, boxed themselves and boxed you in. So they really put themselves into like a karmic hellscape here with whatever this was. But the Chariot and the King of Wands and the High Priestess in reverse, speaking out. Okay, so now I see a little bit more. Oh, this person's not going to get anywhere with their voice until they recognize that they owe you and that there's a karmic debt to be paid. They are boxed in. Like what they have to offer and give the world isn't going to get anywhere meaningful, or you know, they're not going to see any real success until they make that decision to do the right thing by way of whatever removing this veil of silence is. They are trapped by the lies that keep them from really seeing themselves and really seeing what they are, you know, in relationship to others, seeing what they've done to others, seeing what they've done to you, taking that accountability. Like there's something here that needs to be spoken and moved forward. And so their higher self is saying, you know, there's a lot going on here with the Creator and the box. You know, ways to sort of make up for this are kind of in the works at like a cosmic level. With the river here, it's about sort of like, this is the karma that has been created where you are owed. And if you can think about the river and the current as being the current is the powerful pull by which you are owed, which there is a debt that you are owed, that powerful pull, that this energy says, I'm just going to have to step into it and be pulled into that current. And then I have to be what helps move this along the, so this energy has to step into the karmic current of what they owe you in order to get out of a prison related to what they are allowed to create and the credit that they're allowed to get from it. And so there's a lot of karmic stuff playing itself out here where the person who has a mental understanding, yes, I did this, yes, it was wrong, yes, it hurt you, they can report it. They can say the words, but connecting with it, connecting with what they really did and how it really affected you, being able to take responsibility. The hard part with taking responsibility is this person keeps on going, I didn't mean it. I didn't know that I was doing that. I didn't understand. And so like that's their default, which keeps this victimization going in one way or another. And so this person's higher self is saying, like, I know that I'm continuing to keep the victimization going by saying, I was dumb, I didn't understand, like, I was young. Like, there's something here that is, like, invalidating their guilt, that they have something that they're able to use to invalidate their guilt. They have something that they are able to use to invalidate their shame. And that may be true. There may be some aspect of innocence in terms of youth or age. There may be some aspect of innocence in terms of ignorance. I didn't know. What needs to happen here, though, is that this higher self, you know, recognizes that they have to, that at this time they haven't done it yet. They recognize that they have to hold this truth. I didn't know any better. It was an accident. And also hold the truth. But the effects that accident had were long lasting, with great impact. And and then they have to be able to hold those both things and find a way to take responsibility that isn't taking the blame. And so this energy that is coming to you in this reading, that this higher self is saying that there's a level of not understanding, not being culpable. However, there is a need also to take responsibility. And these things are tricky. And so this higher self sort of comes and says, you know, there's a defense here against their own happiness related to what they actually did to you. They took control. They took like this emperor took territory that they should not have taken. Took hold of something that they should not have taken. Caused this great heartbreak. Caused this defense against their own happiness in doing so. When they're able to recognize that, and that they are actually affected by this, not just the people that they hurt, because there is a grave selfishness in this pile in terms of this higher self, is still saying you have to be careful and work to defend yourself against the rivalry that this person operates within, where they're letting themselves off the hook for everything because they have to arrive, they have to achieve, they have to position, they have to place. You know, it's like, and that's common enough, you know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, like, this is ongoing. This happens all the time. Like, this doesn't stop. They're carrying a behavior from a parent that they hate who does this behavior, this parent's blindness. So I'm seeing this as a generational thing. It gets passed down. So let's go ahead and see what this energy wants to tell you about this, because I still feel like, I'll be honest with you, and I don't even know how to respond to that. Like, this higher self, I'm still picking up on an energy of not taking responsibility all the way. And I think that there might be something here for you with that, because in the same way that this person has to hold in an open hand, or hold with both hands, you know, hold two things in one hand, they have to hold that they didn't really understand and they were young, and there's something about, like, I don't know if it's physical age or just like if you were to do the emotional age of this person, it would be like, wow, that's bad. You know, like, that's very young for what you are. So there's something about this where it's in the same way that this person has to hold, I didn't know any better, in the same hand with, I am responsible for what I did. And I have to think about what that means. Like, the same way that has to happen for them. There's a way in which you need to hold, they didn't know any better. And that makes them responsible in a different way than somebody who did know better. And so even though I'm picking up on this, like, it's a very subtle kind of a feeling around culpability that I think that this higher self wants you to kind of work with a little bit, because there's something about there's something about you that this higher self is saying that you are really having this vantage point that says, I want blood in one way or another. And it's not, I even think you might struggle with this. I think that this might be something that you push to the bottom of yourself and it comes out in bursts. That at the same time that you can see, okay, you know, I can look aside, they don't really see what they're doing. There's also a part of you that says, like, there is a need for you to take responsibility and see what you're doing. And you're victimizing me every single time you put those sunglasses on, and now you can't see, and now you're blind, and that's not your fault, you're blind. Oh well, you know. And so, like, this is something that this energy is saying, like, part of the learning curve here is their responsibility for their actions. And then there's a little bit of learning curve here, a little bit of grace, a little bit of meet me in the middle around, oh, that's hard. That's really difficult. Because, yeah, I'm going to get more cards. It's funny because my sense of justice, I'm like, meet you in the middle. Like, this looks pretty bad. I'm not even really be able to fully pick up on what that victim is, but it's a victimization that is very deep in your sense of self. So a choice has to be made here in terms of what this person owes you. And it also seems to be a choice that this person has to make in acknowledging how much they love you. And so there is a great deal of love here with that Ace of Cups, but that great deal of love necessitates some change here with the Wheel of Fortune. And that is, we're going to require a choice. And that choice is that action, that choice their outlook has to change. They have to have an outlook change. They have to have a transformation with this Pluto card on the bottom of the deck. And so what this energy is saying is a transformation is required. A transformation is needed. The pain that was caused you, the level of damage in terms of your self-worth is so great that this person can never make up for that. And I think where I keep on picking up and sort of needling in at this, they have to hold two things that are true. They didn't know any better, and they should have. And that's a bridge they need to cross, and you need to hold this notion of like, they didn't know that they were doing it, and it still hurt you, and it was still an impact as if they did. And like, what does it mean to like work with that? There's some sublimation to a bigger picture, but oh, I lost it. It was so like that. Let me see if I can. Sometimes I can feel like I'm on the train and I'm channeling and the train is moving, and like, it's funny how I can just fall off. Let's take a look. Oh, there's a perspective shift that is needed. Their transformation is required. There's something there that I lost. So let's get some more cards. The choice that they have to make here to change things with you is something that you can't do. You can't get them to see this. You can't force them to make this change. And this is, I think, where that pain is. And so this energy is saying, with thriving and miracles and freedom, that they really want to provide you freedom from feeling like it's up to you to make this right, or it's up to them to make this right. They messed with your sense of your self-security. They messed with your sense of self. They messed with a whole bunch. And they can't even really grasp that. What they did to you, no one's ever done to them. They cannot grasp the gravity of the effect and the outcome and the consequences of what happened, because the place where they were a perpetrator, they have never been a victim. And because of that, they have no depth of field related to what it is for you to heal, what it is for you to move through life, what it is for you to operate, having to manage this wound, because you do a lot of managing the wound. That you live in defense, and having to work twice as hard in defense of yourself because of these things. Like, this is where your guys are saying, this is not about this person, and this energy that's coming forth is saying, like, there's nothing that this person, this higher self is saying, there's nothing I can do to pay the debt. That debt has to be paid at a level of spiritual enlightenment. That debt has to be paid from the higher realms, which means that you need to release this person in one way or another. They cannot be fully trusted. Your security is in knowing that. Your security is in creating boundaries around that. Your security is being aware that the brighter you shine, the more this person is always going to feel threatened. And they might not understand this. In fact, I don't think that they will. The change in perspective that they have to have that will lead them to a transformation, that will allow them to take responsibility for some of the way that they behave, because they do this. They take dominion. They break hearts. They don't even care. They move with their passion wherever they want to go. And even though they love very, very deeply, you know, the way that they conduct this and the way that they're not connected to the damage that it does, it's not something that that you can do for them. It's not something that you can provide for them. And so this higher self is saying, you know, I know I owe you a great debt. I know I have to make this decision in order to bring things to a place where you are compensated for what was taken. But that is something that is, that their higher self is saying that is something that's, it's not fixed. It's not determined. We can't see that this is definitely happening, or it will definitely happen in this way, because there are still open-ended ways in which the higher self that is coming here to say, like, all of this on the table, with thriving in freedom, the higher self is saying, I can help you with the miracles that are required to compensate for this action at a spiritual level. I can help you with those miracles begin to thrive, but you still have to come to a place of freedom when it comes to this victimization, where you can let go of the sentence passed down to you by the unfinished business of somebody's inability to even see themselves clearly. That's what this higher self wants to tell you. That if you were waiting for this person to see themselves clearly, they're not going to. If you're waiting for this person to not only see themselves clearly, but also see what they are capable of doing in the way of damage as a, you know, in response to that clarity, that's not it. They can't do that for you in the 3D, this lifetime kind of a place. But what they can do to you from that higher perspective, from that higher self place, is acknowledge the damage for real, is go beyond just not being able to hold it in the hand. The higher self, every round of this life that they have to take to go through this karma to get this right, they are going to be moving their lower self to a place of acknowledgement and choice, making a choice that maybe I didn't understand what I was doing. Maybe I couldn't have a felt perspective of what I put this person through. Maybe my perspective would require an action that would force a transformation. Maybe it's speaking the truth that is going to move this forward for me. All of this, and it might be your truth that has to be spoken, but at a very, like, you know, inner level related to trusting others and trusting security in relationships writ large. You know, you are being asked to trust in, not that this person's going to come around and get it right, but trust that that's the program, trust that that's what's being worked towards, trust that that's the game plan. And know that where that game plan falls short or where that game plan succeeds, this energy is here today to say the miracles that you need to thrive necessitate a level of freedom that brings you into that bigger picture, that allows you to understand that from this higher place, you are loved beyond your comprehension. From this higher place, the agony and the pain associated with this kind of blindness can be dealt with. From that higher place, I can compensate you. But you have to let go of that version of me that may or may not get there. And it necessitates holding things in a way where the blindness may persist and you just know it. And that's hard. This is a hard reading. You know, whoever pile number 2, you know, I know how hard this is. This does kind of, you know, this is one of those readings where you're like, you already know these things, and there's just an ache, you know, to not have to be in this position. But this higher self is saying, you know, I'm going to step in this current, and I'm going to be taken by this current, and this current is going to lead me to that place of what it means to come to and it might not be this life. It might not be this life, but in this life, you do have access to the miracles that will allow you to thrive through the release of what this tells you about yourself, and how that, because there's a learned helplessness with that you're meant to step out of, related to your self-worth. You can do the healing here, you know, that will cause this wheel of fortune for yourself, but it means stepping out of that deception that is holding out for someone to make amends and fix it, you know, like waiting for anyone else to bring you out of this into that thriving and into those miracles. This higher self is saying, do not count on me in that way. There's too much that they have deceived themselves about and deceived themselves about, even with their own worth, that make this very precarious in terms of whether or not they're actually going to be able to provide this relief, that this is a tough situation in terms of culpability. And your security has to be within yourself so profoundly. And that's, you know, a place where the victimization may have parked you, but it's also such a place of power. If you can move it out of, my security is just within myself. It can be a place of powerlessness and helplessness around needs. But if you're able to say, no, my security is in myself, because I know every time I get knocked down, I stand up again. My security is in myself because the level of love that I have for myself doesn't allow me to question my worth when somebody else does. You know, all of that, this higher self is saying, it's kind of hard, you know, it's like, there's a set healthy boundaries and be generous of spirit. Yeah. Slow and steady wins the race. The energy of this higher self is saying, you know, I will be endeavoring to get there. I will be trying to sort of move with this current, you know, towards that karma of it's like a rectifying. But you do have to set healthy boundaries with me. And you do have to be generous in terms of the grace that you give me in this inability to cope with whatever victimization has happened here. You know, that's a tough call, and it's a call that you're being asked to step into, because miracles are yours. Security is yours. Thriving is yours. But it requires releasing the debt that placed you in this position where the feeling of victimization, it's kind of, the slow and steady is a need for healing at a slow and steady pace. And so pile number 2, I hope that was helpful. You know, I like to see, you know, with these readings, I really like to see like these breakthroughs around some hope. And this particular reading, the hope is placed in this miracles, thriving, and freedom. We don't see with the ascendant in the reverse. It's almost like, you know, this energy saying, you know, as much as that current exists, as much as this choice needs to be made, as much as that's a work in progress, you can count on the higher self of this person to be a spirit guide. You can count on the higher self of this person to know that they owe you big, and to be putting all the work into bringing in those miracles, bringing in that thriving, and allowing for that freedom, and bringing some reciprocity. But it's going to come from that spiritual place. And so that's what this higher self wants to tell you. And if you do by some chance see this healing and this work being done at the 3D level, that's a possibility, but not one to hang your head on. It's a slow and steady, and it's a set healthy boundaries, which means be careful about where you place your expectation. And this does call you to be generous of spirit. So pile number 2, I'm going to leave it there. I'm sending you lots of love and encouragement and hope. Okay, bunny rabbit pile. And just as I'm flipping this card, I was hearing an owl, which the sun isn't out because it's been raining, but that's an unusual sound for me to hear here. So there's something about an owl that I want to sort of draw your attention to. And with the knight here, and this is actually, you know, this card does speak to sort of some kind of a romance sort of a thing. It doesn't have to be, but I think there's something to that. So I just want to point that out. But with the bunny rabbit here, this also might just be because I'm getting this feeling of like this higher self is sort of saying like I'm supposed to be, or I was supposed to be your ride or die. I was supposed to be this friend. I was supposed to be your comrade, your companion, your, like that knight. I show up for you in a certain kind of way. And so there's something about that. And it feels like that this energy was supposed to show up for you means they didn't. So let's see what this is about. A sense of honor. So there's something here about they just did not do what they were supposed to do. Okay, let's get some cards on the table. Pile number 3. Desire, action, union, death. Okay. this person is your friend. And so the Knight there is about an offer of love, or a lack of an offer of love, or there's something here about puppy love. And it seems like what this energy wants to get through to you is that they are your friend. And it's like odd thing here, because with the Two of Cups on the bottom of the, not even the bottom of the deck, the Three of Cups on the bottom of the deck, again, that's community, that's a friend. You would have known this person through community. You would have known this person as a friend. There may have not been that offer of love, or not been that seeing you clearly, but there seems to be something here about their higher self being like, I see you clearly. Now I see you clearly. And there was something with and I'm going to be careful about how I say this, because this person's higher self, this is in an ascended form, and connecting with someone's higher self in an ascended form, but there's something about this energy maybe not still being with us in the flesh. Because with this Death card here, you know, I don't necessarily see this as death and rebirth, but one of two things is coming through very powerfully. Either this person died as a result of some sort of indulgence or some sort of addiction, or there was something about this person having to die as a result of an indulgence addiction sort of a problem. This Knight of Swords and this Hierophant is sort of, this is confusing to me, so I'm going to take a closer look with that. With the Four of Wands and the Emperor, they were supposed to show up for you in a certain kind of way. And so let's take a look and see what they want to say about that. Because this Four of Wands is about a union, about a celebration, like a wedding celebration after a long wait. And this Emperor is, again, like there was some energy here that was, let's get more cards. I want to look at this closer, and I want to use this deck to get in a little tighter in terms of what I'm looking at. Let me see that Knight of Swords, that taking action on the Hierophant, which would have been the white feather, which I don't know how this got here. This is like a white feather that would come from like a pillow. So there, and I felt this. I was getting this feeling where I was like, this energy, this higher self is like, it's pinging, like I've already moved on, I've already passed on, I've already like crossed over. And the white feather, and there's no way for that to like be in this room, like in this way, unless it came in with my clothes, which is possible, but that too is related to this. So there's a white feather. That white feather has some sort of significance there, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if that had something to do with this energy being passed on. Not for everybody, right? But there are those of you who that energy want to be very specific about that with. So let's take a look and see what this is. They love you very much, and I think that like one of the greatest laments of their life even is how much they missed an opportunity to be enriched by you. And that word is like, you know, they're saying from the point of view of wherever they are right now, like, I would have had different outcomes at every juncture of my life had I made the decision to have been enriched by you in the way that I was meant to. There is like some element of regret here. There are definitely there's definitely two groups in this pile, because I'm seeing two energies, right? And so there is the energy of somebody who has passed on, and then there's also the energy of somebody who passed on an opportunity that they were supposed to take. And I think you felt powerfully about this. I think this probably threw you, and it probably threw your whole sense of intuition, and like, how do you trust your intuition? So, you know, so whatever the opportunity was, though, their higher self is saying, this had the way that the desire is, or the way that the desire operated, you know, whether this has to change form because that person is no longer with you, or this has to majorly change form because it could never, they could have never received that offer from where they were. They would have had to change form to get to that place. So this higher self is basically saying there's a lot of regret here, but it's also, there's something else. Let me see. Let's get, this deck likes to like peekaboo with me. Oh, here it is. The Four of Pentacles. Yeah, they feeling it. They feeling that. They are feeling that. Chariot moved on. I do think that. I think that there is something to that with the Eight of Cups reversed, though. Yeah, there's no more work that can be really done on this. Something happened where they did, in fact, move on. It was a missed opportunity. And they see the loss. They see what they could have had, and they see what they were, what they were. They lived in such lack, but you were this abundance. And so there's something very powerful about that. That's what I was curious about. Like, what is this structure here? They were unfair to you. There's something here about wanting to take action because of this unfairness. Let's take a look. Yeah, Knight of Cups in reverse. It was, yeah, this was something that was not received, something that you didn't get. And with the Three of Cups, this is interesting. So you've got the Three of Cups reversed in terms of the community, because again, you somehow knew them in community, or there was some relationship to this person in community, knew them through community. That's most people, so that's like super vague, but there's something significant, because I'm seeing like a community chapter or a community hall or a community something, like there's, and I can't exactly get it, but with this in reverse, there was some kind of a bad influence by way of community, or a way in which community facilitated this this missed connection. Because that Princess of Swords in reverse is, again, it's saying like the unspoken, now it can't be spoken. Now there's no way to communicate this message. Now there's no way to offer this. And so like death or no death, we are looking at a situation closed out, and the way in which it can continue, or the way in which it can transform and become something new, is, again, it's either going to be in some form of friendship, or it's going to be in some form of guidance. If this is a passed on person, this is a guide that now walks with you. If it's a person in your life, this does have to sort of switch gears into a friendship, or like there's something about it being significant for community, significant for community relationship, but it's not necessarily this Two of Cups, although that is here. But it's almost like Two of Cups, like can't be enough that way. It has to be something else. So let's take a look. The Chariot and the Eight of Cups, though, is like this isn't moving in a direction that can be like worked out. It's not like work can be put into this. It's sort of where it is because of that death. Six of Pentacles, it was unfair. Knight of Cups in reverse. It's something withheld, and the action being taken related to something withheld. Something was given that was not given back. Someplace where there was not generosity. And again, this leaves a problem around communication with that Four of Wands Emperor energy. So there's actually a lot on the table in front of us. And this energy keeps on, this higher self energy keeps on saying, I'm your friend, I am your friend. Because I think that there is a way in which this person's higher self, whether they are at 3D skin on them alive or not, is your guide. You have a guide in this energy based on what wasn't given, based on something that is unfinished. There is unfinished business between you and this energy. And so this energy guides you as part of their unfinished business with you, and as a way of sort of like they recognize that and that's the thing, it's like it's grounding them in one way or another, whether the unfinished business is grounding them in terms of like moving on to an ascended plane, you know what I mean, like, because this higher self is saying, you know, this is the position that is the highest self, but this is unfinished business. And so it lives in this person's unconscious mind like a question waiting to be answered. And even if they have suppressed it, it haunts them. And so this is a haunting in one way or another. And so the first thing that this energy wants to say from like an elevated, ascended place is like, I actively haunt you. And when and that journey in the afterlife that takes place from like death on, and it's still a journey towards ascension. Like this is a whole you know, we have lifespan journey, we have womb journey, we have the journey after we physically die. There's a journey that is I think we just expand and expand is what I see. But as a part of this person's afterlife journey, whether they're still with us or not, because this is outside the confines of time, they're with you and they recognize this whole situation as business unfinished. And so let's take a look and see what they want to do about this, because I think this is an opportunity for them to communicate, because ruined by community, and this has affected you in community. I think that they see, like, friendship keeps on coming up as like a very pronounced thing, because I think they see you as someone who has had enough experiences with rejection in community that this is a painful spot for you. This is a sore spot for you. This is a wound. And that's why it's so important for them to like, because I think you wanted friendship from them. I think you were looking for more, but I think that whatever this desire was, because it's something like underformed. At the night, the offer, it means like at the offer place, at the position of offering love, it didn't go all the way. Like I feel that very powerfully. And so they were in some kind of destructive thing with this Nine of Cups. Like this Nine of Cups and this Death card is talking about, you know, a drowning of themselves in one way or another. And so with this message, let's see what they want to bring through. They want to bring some healing to you around friendship and community, because whatever this offer or lack of an offer was, it hurt you in relationship to feeling like you are acceptable as friend or in community. And this might not have been something that this person did all by themselves, but there's something mean that happened to you in community where they know that played into, you know, becoming one of the bricks in the wall that bricked you in one way or another. And I'm not suggesting that you are stuck behind a brick wall, but if you ever had to make your way out of a brick wall, like they were one of those bricks, and they recognize that they were one of those bricks. And so they want to speak to you about like community, because that's sort of almost like their specialty anyway, in terms of, and they also see that as being their job a little bit, is to try and help you make some good friends. And so this is an interesting energy that's coming through, because even if it's somebody who is not going to be in relationship with you during this lifetime, you might have some sense of their energy around you, which is confusing. And that's because wherever it cut off short, wherever it sort of prematurely ended, or wherever that offer wasn't like fully given and fully received, even if it was, because this is such a big group, oddly, I can feel like a bunch of variation. Even if it was, there's this way in which this is your spirit guide, you know, wanting to work with you in terms of what was meant here. And it could be with this Four of Wands wedding and this Emperor, that this person didn't, like this energy is like, I offered love, but then I didn't give it, or I offered love, but then I withheld it, or I offered love, but then I had conditions about it. Like that falls short here, and leaves this unspoken, leaves this unfinished business. And so like this is an energy that says like, yes, you know, we can kind of speak to like where this did not work out with the Chariot and the Eight of Cups reversed. Oh, wow. This is weird. I've been feeling this card in such a different way that it changed like the whole meaning for me, and I'm stunned. And now I understand why. There's no work that you need to do here, but there's also a walking towards and not away. Oh, wow. Okay, so trying to move you back towards this notion of what it is to desire and to feel confident. This has been happening to me lately. I have no idea like why, but like usually like the way that I see visions, and the way that I like all of the stuff that's happening when I'm channeling, there's visions, there's auditory stuff going on, there's a lot that happens. Like the cards, I feel from a tactile place, kind of, I have a feeling psychic ability, but I also like see it as moving symbols. And this is like the third time where I have seen something in a card and then like it shapeshifts on me. It's bizarre. It's like so weird. But with that Eight of Cups in reverse being about walking towards, and that Chariot and that Death card and that Nine of Cups. So that shapeshift in the middle of that interpretation or that intuition was really related to the mistake that this person made, or the mistake that this energy made, was in running away from themselves in one way or another. Even when it came to seeing you clearly and not having enough to sort of like really get what was in front of them, they were way too concerned about what other people thought, and they were way too concerned about like social stuff. They don't want that for you, but like more than that, there's something that they want you to walk towards in the way of love and desire with this Death card and this Chariot, moving toward a transformation within yourself. That's not really about working to be loved, working on a relationship, but it's more about allowing yourself to like have good feelings, like allowing yourself to feel physically good, allowing yourself to have pleasure. All right, let's get some cards. Let's see where this is going. Because this energy is saying, you know, I really want to help you with this whole thing of community, and I want to finish out like some of these unanswered questions. And so let me just get clarity on this Eight of Coins, which is not an Eight of Coins, because I saw it as one, and it's actually an Eight of Cups. Because that's interesting. That's again, it's like the second time that's happened. The other day I read like words that were not the same words, and it like shapeshifted on me. Queen of Wands. Oh, this is almost like this energy is getting ready to like gas you up. I just felt that. Okay, let me get more cards. 13. 13 is significant. This energy is getting ready to gas you up. Okay, so yeah, that Queen of Wands again, like passion, pleasure. This energy sees you clear enough right now, and clearly enough right now, with the King of Wands in reverse and the Six of Pentacles. They, you know, there's not enough Six of Pentacles in the world lately. Like I'm feeling this unbalance lately. Seven of Wands. So like as to these unspoken questions, I think this energy says, or I get this very distinct impression, this energy wants to talk about like their view of you in community, then their view of you like through the lens of community, not in community. This person is saying, or this higher self is saying, you know, my view of you through the lens of community made me treat you bad. And this whole thing about, you know, the influence of community that kind of hurt you and that maybe even continues to hurt you, and the unfinished business around like what you were meant to mean to this person and what they like unfinished business with you because of an influence related to community. And they're saying people don't see you clearly. This higher self is saying like the fact of the matter is I didn't see you clearly. People don't see you clearly. That you have an effect on people that kind of like it sets them aflame in one way or another, and you impact people at a level that like it does feel intimidating. Like there's part of it, but with this Two of Cups, like now that this energy has gotten closer, now that this energy has this perspective, and I'm yeah, the Wheel of Fortune, now that this energy has gone through their change, there is a whole new way that they're looking at the fact that like nobody offers you anything, that you don't get enough, that you don't get enough food, that you don't get enough anything. And the way that community treats you with the not getting enough is worth talking about, because this is a guide, or this is an energy that was part of that withholding kind of a thing with you. And so with this Four of Pentacles being about like, you know, you operating in a level of scarcity related to, you know, Six of Pentacles, give and take, but like related to you give people so much. You see people so clearly, you offer them a perfect mirroring. Never, ever, ever, ever do you look at somebody and show them a version of themselves that they don't like. Hardly ever. The only time that you seem to show someone a version of themselves that they don't like is when you do not give them more, or you don't give them anything. That is where you get the most hate. You know what I mean? Is not in is just like when you choose for whatever reason to not offer yourself, right? Just to simply guard your energy, or simply not have, to make a choice against a certain relationship, or, someone comes at you with their hand out, give me your time, give me your energy, give me your attention. And sometimes you just don't have that. And so you don't. That's about as bad as it gets in terms of like the way you treat people. That is like the highest, that it goes when it comes to like unkindness, is you literally having just the most scantilla of reasonable boundaries, because there are people that they see you and they see a sandwich in one way or another. But the point is, like, that people do not see you clearly is something that they have the vision for now, and they know they got caught in the riptide of a false sense of who you are. And so when they say that you are the Queen of Wands, they want to give that to you. They never wanted to give that to you. I don't think you expected somebody to be jealous of you in this romantic or offer of love way, because like this Knight of Cups, and again, like, I'm having a hard time kind of fixing where the romance is in this, because this person is like, I am your friend, like your friend for run. You know what I mean? And that doesn't seem like a friend zoning. That feels like something that they wanted to offer you. They want to offer you. And like, so this offer of love, is a lot of ways in which people, like, they show up with an offer and then they don't want to give you. So let's find out more, because they want you to understand that this plays a really big role in the way that you receive pleasure, participate with pleasure, and participate with love, participate with attraction, participate with anything. They are seeing you from a vantage point where, socially speaking, you don't get love, you don't have love, you don't live with love, you don't even look for love in the world around you. You don't even venture that far. I don't know if it's like the place that you have gotten to, or whatever the situations of, you have become such a servant to the world in one way or another. And I think even stepping away from people pleasing, there's still this way in which you came up with so much scarcity and deprivation. This is a lack of offer. And so, like, if you feel like I wasn't chosen, or love was not offered to me with this Three of Cups in reverse, this energy is coming to say, like, that's true. Like, that's not wrong. And it's important that somebody actually says that to you, like, people chose not to offer you love. They chose not to offer you like much. You give perfect mirroring. You offer a perfect, support system. Like, you have an exceptional, array of qualities that make you a powerful friend. And when you are a friend to someone, when you decide to be someone's friend, they are enriched by your life and your perspective to the tune of miracles happen. Like, I don't even know how to, they have transformation after transformation after transformation after transformation, and it brings miracles that wouldn't normally be accessible, into the experience. Like, you literally have a transforming effect on people. And this energy that is with us, this higher self, is saying, from my position, looking back over my life, looking back over what this connection could have done for me, the difference between complete and failure and complete success rested on my ability to look past this social web of misinformation and just actually see you there. That's it. That's this moment. And that's this energy. And that's this energy with us. And so with that Four of Pentacles being about, you don't get enough. And people don't offer you hardly anything. In fact, they offer you very little, if anything. And you operate from that place. That's this unfinished business around, if I could break through the wall that separates us between worlds, this energy is saying, I would tell you how unbelievably attractive I found you, how unbelievably beautiful. I can't even talk. This energy is like giving me like I just got like a feeling off of this energy, like was sort of showing me, and I got this feeling off this energy, and it like actually like made me like record, like, whoa, yo, like that this person's sense of how, like it's almost like this energy saying, like, if I could turn it around, instead of showing you what I showed you, this energy saying what I showed you was you don't mean anything. You're not important. Like there's something about like waiting 2 weeks to call, you know what I mean? Or like having a really good, like conversation and then ignoring you. Like all the ways that there were games around like what this person thought you should have and not have in the way of approval. Like it was weird. Like I can't even get it exactly, but like the way that you radiate and the gifts that you have and the person that you are, you're afraid to show up in any meaningful way, and when you do, you feel guilty or fearful or expectant of punishment. You can't figure out whether or not you should like downplay and make yourself smaller just to get crumbs, or if you should show up all the way and be impervious to everyone. Like there's this way in which you just like this energy saying like you really just can't win, and so this energy saying from the other side, like there's something here too, like yes, you can win. First of all, none of that is true. The way that people treat you is like profoundly unfair. They're not looking at the true picture of who you are. There are good reasons for that. We can look at those good reasons. But in terms of you getting reciprocity when it comes to being offered much of anything, that's really difficult. And so this energy is here to say, there's a Seven of Wands, there's a defensiveness with the Six of Pentacles and the Six of Pentacles and the King of Wands in reverse. I feel like you've been fighting really, 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 really hard for like a scintilla or an ounce of approval. And you get it. You get some approval. You get approval. Approval rolls in. And you have a relationship with approval where it rolls in, you touch it and you run away. There's like almost a self-deprecating quality to like someone is like, oh, what a lovely shirt. And you're like, I got it for 5 cents. Don't hurt me. This whole thing, like, don't hit me, and that's kind of become that Seven of Wands, like your reaction to positive feedback, your reaction to compliments, your reaction to someone taking notice of you is like an immediate like dismissal and downgrading of these things. And even what you give people, like you immediately dismiss and downgrade its value because you don't want people to see what you have as so valuable that they're now going to be mean to you. You actually do understand the mechanism at play with showing up in the world. And these themes can go back to the beginning of the first breath that you took. It can go back to sibling stuff. Like this energy is wanting you to walk towards your showing up, like glowing bright, but also wants to acknowledge that there are mechanisms at play here with the structure of things that make you have to, I don't want to say work harder, but let's get some cards on this. Let's get some cards. You have done everything that you could to maim yourself in one way or another to show people that you're not a threat, and people will find you threatening no matter what. And you have to get over that. I mean, we're on round 50, like this higher self, but it's really the guides, because this is one of your guides almost saying like we're on round 50,000 of telling you to give up on expecting people to have some disposition towards you that's going to give you permission to show up. You're not going to get that permission. You're not going to get that cooperation. Nobody's going to help you get where you're going. You are esteemed as having it all. And I don't even know what esteemed means, but that's that guy's word. I mean, I know what esteemed means, but that's the way I wouldn't have used it. You are seen as having it all, because you do have it all. And this is where this is your main problem. This higher self is saying, here's your biggest problem, and this is the thing that they want to crack your head open like an egg almost. You keep on fighting with, you show up and you're a threat. You keep on fighting with, you show up and people want to cast a shadow on you. You keep on fighting with, people want to level you. You keep on fighting with, people don't want to give you your due. You keep on fighting with, no one offers anything. And you keep on fighting with it and fighting with it and fighting with it and trying to diminish yourself and diminish yourself and diminish yourself and give more and give more and give more, with an expectation that somehow accommodating others and their expectations, even accommodating others and their expectations, like, because your guy's saying, like, you've stopped, like, accommodating people's expectations in terms of, like, giving them everything, you know, just because you don't want to be hurt. But now you have an expectation that you are going to get hurt and that you do have to defend yourself. And so it's like a different way of fulfilling expectations in order to feel like you have a right to show up and take space and breathe. So it's like either show up and take space and breathe in defense, and that's going to be like in bravado in some ways. Like, I'm even guilty of that sometimes. Or make yourself small and run away. And this guy is saying, you have been doing this all your life. They have a lifespan view of you now because they work as one of your guides. I am your friend. This guy keeps on saying, like, I'm your friend. Even not feeling like you can show up as yourself, even feeling like you have to put on some kind of performance because the real version of yourself, like, just, it bothers people. And so this guy is basically saying that, like, it's not show up less or show up as somebody else, or it's like you try to balance the scales even before you get in the room. You make yourself overly available. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that you're doing to compensate for this. And this guy is saying, do the opposite of what you're doing. Don't compensate. Self-expression and strength and divine timing and evaluation is the diviner and the dancer. Your bounty and your due, you know, with your awareness and your self-reflection, if everyone in the world can give you a mirror that says there's something wrong with you, like, there's something wrong with you, like, and if you give and it's very easy for you to give, and people can throw you like pennies in response, and you're like, what's going on here? If you're taking all of that personally, like, you're letting them win. And so this energy is kind of saying, like, you know, if while I had been alive, or if like when we knew each other, like, if you weren't doing all of that apologizing, if you weren't doing all of that hiding, if you weren't, like, so afraid, and again, like, this energy is showing me like a dog that's been kicked too much. So it's like it's kind of not your fault. But if you had showed up as this Queen of Wands, they would have seen you, and community would not have told them who you are. You would have told who you are by showing up all the way and taking a stake and sticking it in the ground and speaking from that place of genuine self and authority. When you communicate yourself, you leave less room for people to project on you. But when you refuse to communicate with yourself, that's where you leave all this room for projection. And when you're not communicating as yourself, people pick up on it and they can figure it out, and it irks them, it bothers them. It's like, why? What is going on here? Like, it's an energetic thing when you're not there. And so this energy is saying, like, if you had been able to show up, I would have been able to see you. And I know from social things, you know, and from the other side and everything that I'm able to see, that if you show up now as yourself in this big and bold and beautiful way, you will be seen by the people who will appreciate you. You will be seen by the people who will value you, and they will give you the time and space to be gotten for them to get to know you, for them to love you. And so like even somebody in the past who seems to have rejected you, had they seen you as they can see you now, they would have seen you, they would have loved you. But there was so much between you and them in the way of defenses that they couldn't see you. And this continues to be a kind of social effect that you are weathering, where you're getting rejection after rejection after rejection because you were perceived in one way and you are in another, and you don't know the distance between those two. And so you're taking these things personally, when what is getting all of the hits, what's getting all the rejection, what's getting all the cruelty is what people assume of you and not what you actually are. Not the experiences that you have, not the person that you have. They see something else. And so for a minute, I want to kind of take a moment and see what they see in the way of something else, so we can see what these people, like it's like the lens of community or the lens of those around you have like put you in a role that isn't you. And you participated in that to a certain degree because there's a lot of shame that you carry. And so you respond to these slights and these like these microaggressions with it's a deep shaming that you feel like, and it has an effect. It really has an effect. But the fact of the matter is, it's like you are all that. Like you really are. And instead of apologizing for it, which is what you do all the time, this energy is like, don't apologize to anyone. Let them feel small. Let them let those expectations that, that they have of you, that you are king of, the room, be true instead of whatever. And, so there's something there. I don't know if king of the room, but there's something about the attention that you get with that queen of wands. Because that king of wands in reverse is saying this war that is being there's a war being waged against you in the form of devaluing you and making you feel like you owe people something because of what you have. Because other people feel like you owe them something because of what you have. And they don't see you as a person. It's a strange thing. And so let's take a look and see how they do see you. So what do they see about you that makes them feel like you don't get offered it's almost like they think that you have the love. I don't know. Let's take a look. Expansion, Pisces. They see you as Jupiter and the mystic, the alchemist, opportunity, and Aries. Bottom of the deck. They see you as being complex. So you don't actually, this is interesting. So you're not easy to figure out. You don't, that's very interesting. So I'm being shown that because you shrink back, because you don't make an announcement and step into the room and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and this is what I'm doing, I'm taking hostages, whatever, you know what I mean? This is me and I'm it. Since you don't make that announcement, you don't stake your claim, you actually leave a lot of confusion. Who is this person? What is this person? It's almost like you're a blank board, or there's something about you that allows people to, in that question, because you're not showing up with the answer, right? And so since you're not showing up with the answer, they're answering the question for themselves. And so there's this complexity about you being an enigma, or you being you strike people as an enigma, right? And so that's where all of this, you're not easy to figure out. There is a complexity there that you puzzle and mystify people, and they don't really like it. And they want to put you in a box. They want to categorize you. And so they're looking to do just that, right? And so they see you with the expansion as being somebody who's going places, somebody who is going to get there, somebody with these mystical gifts, in one way or another, as having all of these opportunities and being able to, this is the alchemy of all of these different qualities that is going to make for a fast rise here with Aries. They're radical, so they actually see you kind of close to the truth. I'll be honest with you, even though there is a level of complexity, there is this going places, but this mysterious, and there's something here about you having you have the vibe of somebody who's ridiculously wealthy or came from a stupid amount of wealth. And the opposite is true of you, but I think you give off that vibe. with that alchemist here is like having every ingredient needed for that success, for that quick rise. That's not true at all. And so it's funny because like the way people see you isn't disparaging. It's not bad. It's not like they don't give you, and you know, your props, you know, they don't give you your whatever, the friendship or whatever it is that would normally happen. Not because they see, it's because they see you as like a rocket ship. They see you wrong in the brightest and lightest way, not in a different way. And so it's like this energy is saying, you know, the way that the community saw you, and then I didn't even like think to approach you or offer you anything real in the way of like, you know, what I would like. This energy saying like I didn't invest in time, I didn't invest energy, I didn't invest time in an offer of love for you, because my perspective of you, even seeing you in community, seeing you around people, seeing the way you interacted, even if you feel like the whole world is rejecting you, what people see is the whole world accepting you. What people see is somebody who has these like just an incredible enthusiasm and optimism and generosity, and they think you're lucky and like exploring and leaping and expanding, and you're so imaginative and healing and empathetic and mystical and, you know, like dreamy and spiritual, and all of the opportunities that come to you because of those qualities must be endless. You must have everything that you need to get it. Like that's how they view you in such a positive light, not a negative light, but you experience it as a negative because you're not. A lot of times when people give, whether it's friendship, kindness, love, it's because they want to feel better about themselves. They want to feel like they're helping somebody. They can't relate unless they're in a helping role, or they can't relate unless they're, you know, doing something and they're like equals. You know, they can't relate unless, I mean, everybody's equals, but there's something about you seeming to like, you're at a loss of a point of relating. And at the loss of that point of relating, you also give off such a vibe of, it's like a type of a person. What's that type of a person? It's a alpha wolf or something like that. Because I'm seeing a dude, and it's this image is coming through with like a wolf, and it's like I don't even know what that is, Sigma or something. I don't get it. But like the bottom line is like there's something about you seeming like one of these type of like lone wolf people that are just like on a beautiful rise. And that the complexity is that like this is being projected at you, and that's not you. And so, you know, this notion of like showing up all the way and making yourself known and announcing yourself is less about haughty-taughty, and it's less about like that bravado that operates as a defense, you know, in one way or another. Whether it's like you're showing up with bravado and performance, or you're showing up with performance in any way, it's operating as a defense. And, you know, whether you're shrinking yourself into nothing and not wanting to make a squeak, it's operating as a defense. Even though people seem to see or they feel the gravity, the energy that you have is something that's expansive, beautiful, mystical, and it must give you every opportunity. Like there's something there. And so when your guys are saying like, that's not what you actually are, and this disconnect causes you pain, and it's not even that people are projecting anything negative on you. Those that are actually in the very, very small minority. It's that they're projecting you don't need anything, which is also something that you're delivering. And so, you know, with the diviner and the self-expression, part of what it means for you to express yourself in this Queen of Wands capacity is fresh off the battlefield, wounds are showing. Yes, you're strong. Yes, you're beautiful. Yes, you glow, but you have been through a battle. And the battle weary is what the world doesn't see. And so there is something here to this notion of, you know, the way that things are set up, you know, you're not like, we're almost in this world in which you have to show extreme need to get even a scintilla of help. And you just haven't done that. And so the offer hasn't been there, but it's not against you. And it wasn't even against you with this person. This person thought you were out of their league by a football field. Meanwhile, you were like, you were pining, you know? So it's like, they didn't even realize that. And I think that that's an important thing to think about, is that like, it was a defense mechanism just in a certain kind of a way. It was easy for them to knock you down because you didn't seem to be something that they would be able to get or have or be close to as a person anyway. And even in friendship, it seemed like you were not at the level with them. And they did make fun of you. I'm seeing that. You know, they did kind of like put you down. But it was because they thought that it was you were like fair game. Fair game would not be somebody who's wearing their wounds out. But fair game is somebody who shows not an ounce of vulnerability. And it shouldn't be that way, but that's sort of what this energy is kind of saying, is that there is something that was going on with that. And so the Scorpio, how you really are, you know, we're going to take a look and see, like, you know, what we're really dealing with you. And Scorpio, who you really are. Their higher self is saying that, oh my God, 12,000. Jeez, you've got a lot here. Well, this has pushed you into kind of an extreme. So with the 12th house in reverse, oversharing, you know, every single, oh my gosh, who you really are. All right. This energy this is going so long, but you know, I'm going to try and get through it really fast. Who you really are here is a very deep person who has had to go through transformation over transformation over transformation with very little time in between those transformations. And so it's like there, like you're oh, wow, you've had to be really resourceful, and you have been regenerative at a deep level. And the level of transformation that you are capable of within yourself does give you a shape-shifting quality. People can't really easily peg you down because you don't sit in the same spot. You are constantly transforming. That's a very rare quality. You have a destiny. It is a destiny that no one can ignore. You can't ignore it. It comes with your gravity, the gravity that you hold. There's no way that everything that you say, think, and kind of do aren't like this third house in terms of like social media, circulation, discussions, sociability. Your destiny is in that arena, but you do not communicate. You keep yourself so closely guarded, even though you seem to be sharing all of your secrets. And that's hard to, that's sharing all of your secrets is almost a way of saying, here, this is who I am. This is who I am. You know what I mean? Like, you see me wrong and I don't like it and it hurts me and it leads me not getting, you know, anything. And like, it must be that everyone hates me, right? And this guy is saying, this higher self is saying, like, no one's seeing you clearly. You're giving off an impenetrable, like, quality of strength. And the truth of the matter is, like, you're just so buried alive in a lot of ways, and I don't mean that in a negative way, because this destiny overwhelms even you. And so the amount of things that you don't communicate, the amount of boundaries that you have around yourself, while you simultaneously seem to like overshare such from the depths kinds of things, see, like in that 12th house in reverse, like there's too much giving there to try and make up for, like, trying to put yourself on display, even though yourself on display is something that has the power with this destiny to transform not just your experience, but like the greater third house, like perceptions, like worldviews almost. There's a lot of you participating in the changing of the world view. And I think that this is a group that is in that process. But you in particular are bringing this up from your depths. And so there's a part of this that is all your destiny. It's like being pushed, you know, into that like place of having to offer too much for so long. All right, I think this is going on so long that we kind of have to, you know, even though I think that there's more to be said here, you know, what this guide is saying about, you know, putting down a defense, stepping into a sense of yourself as being needed and wanted in community. The people that you let in are enriched to the tune of always succeeding. Even people who are like in proximity begin to succeed by that way. What you're not communicating though is your vulnerability, and that vulnerability is deep, and it's this guide is sort of coming through to say your self-expression is your strength, but your self-awareness is not. So that trust there, and that lack of trust when it comes to really communicating vulnerability. It's funny, it's like such a mixed message. Like I almost want to do this, like, you know, because I almost want to sit with this guy and be like, you know, you have this, you're telling this person to take risks, to show up all the way, to like be that Queen of Wands, to not shrink, to not accommodate anyone. And you're also saying to do it with a level of vulnerability, like related to who you truly are, that would bring you into a bigger communication, you know, taking risks with communication about the boundaries that you have up around yourself, to keep people out more than anything else, because you don't trust. And you don't trust because how you see yourself and how the world sees you are like, that's the problem. That's the whole thing. And so this happiness going forward, you know, with simplicity at the bottom of the deck, and we're also getting this white feather twice, is this energy is saying, you know, simplify, you know, care less about how people are reacting to you. Work on the goals, not meeting the expectations. Put that on a billboard somewhere. You meet the goals, you don't meet the expectations of others. And you're not going to get that proper mirroring, because you are something very powerful, and the margins that you were pushed to and that you're pushed to are leading to like this destiny here with what you're bringing with you from the depths and what you're communicating into this third house perception space, where your communication gets trapped and you stop yourself from fully speaking. You also stop yourself from the happiness that is yours when you stop communicating from that place of desperation. Please, please, please just understand me, and start communicating from that place of, look at all the wisdom that I have gained from the journey that I have taken and the person that I am, and that person is worthy of love. And that knowing that you're worthy of love and showing up like you're worthy of love and operating like you're worthy of love is all the difference in the world, in the way of people being able to see you instead of a projection of you that has it all. And even if you feel like you tell people the opposite, oversharing all the secrets, you still project this destiny, and there's nothing you can do about that. And so going forward and taking these risks is actually about simplifying and just showing up as you, and cutting off any communication you have with the part of your brain that operates in defense, and just allowing for this communication to be expressed through some level of structure. It's not with the 12th house in reverse. You know, you have to structure that communication. It'll make you feel better. But that's just so that you feel in control of things. Because right now you're just like begging to be seen clearly. And you have to do a lot of work in accepting that it's hard to see you clearly. But your guide is here to say I'm helping you with that. So let's leave it there, because this went on for a really long time. And I hope that the message that got through is one that, you know, held that help. Just like connecting with this guide for one last minute. Yeah, it's been an hour. There's been a lot. There's a lot said that I don't even realize. So this message was actually hard for me to get all the way. I still don't feel 1000% clear on it, but I'm going to put it up anyway, just because I feel like there's probably stuff that is very valuable. And there is, because this higher self of this friend, which really is your friend, is saying, time to show up all the way. And that's going to be a little tricky for you, but it's time to do that. And so maybe that'll be another reading. So let's leave this here, and sending you the most love and hope, and this energy is here as a big support with you always.